some time ago, a guy that lives in a state that looks like a giant oven mitt decided to start his own podcast. He's cooler than you. His favorite pizza topping is pineapple because he knows it makes you angry. This is CuJo's Corner. Alright. Welcome back to another edition of CuJo's Corner, everyone. This is the 32nd installment of this podcast. Today's date that I'm recording this is Monday, September 26th. Got a couple things to talk about. We're going to talk about the Michigan-Maryland game this past Saturday. We're going to talk about the Pats game against the Ravens. And, seems like it'd be a short one, but I have a lot to talk about when it comes to both of these games. So, without any further ado, let's rap about it. Let's rap about some football. Not literally. Let's talk. So, Michigan-Maryland this past Saturday. This is an interesting game. I have a lot to say about this. Now, if you guys saw the line of this game, this is the first thing I want to talk about. Michigan was 17-point favorites in this game. Now, I'm going to be honest. I didn't really quite understand why that was, save for the fact that Michigan and Maryland is Maryland. Besides brand recognition, and I, if I'm being honest, I don't know how they determine the lines on these things. I know it's all in Vegas, it's betting and whatnot, but it really did seem like a lot of people thought that Michigan was just gonna roll the Terps and it was gonna be easy. I didn't know a whole lot about Maryland going into this game, but what I had heard was that they had a pretty stellar offense, and Michigan was probably going to be challenged. And you know what? When I looked into Maryland a little bit more, I thought, okay, Michigan's probably going to struggle, and I told all my coworkers, I says, Michigan's probably going to be trailing at halftime. They're probably going to struggle with this one at first because, and this is what I really want to get into with this before we talk about the game itself. Games like this are why I did not like the beginning of their schedule. Their first three games being against basically over-glorified high school teams. It's tough to measure up how good Michigan is because then you play a team like Maryland who actually can score a touchdown or two, and I mean they got a really good offense. I think it's one of the top ranked in the countries. It's one of the top ranked in the country. Jesus. You have these easy rollover games, and then you play a team that actually has the capability to roll up and punch you in the mouth. You get a bit shell shocked. So I expected Michigan to kind of struggle in this one a bit. Now they ended up winning. They won 34-27, and it's not to say that there wasn't anything to like in this game. I thought Blake Quorum was absolutely amazing. Had a damn good game. Let me pull his stats up right now. He was 30 for 243 yards and 2 touchdowns. His longest run being for 47 yards. I mean, this kid had an absolute breakout game here. Blake Quorum is, he kind of reminds me of another running back, and I'll get to that at the end of the not at the end of the podcast, but at the in a little bit. J.J. McCarthy. Now, if you're looking at his numbers, I'll pull them up right now. He was 18 for 26, 220 yards, 2 touchdowns. Now, you're looking at that, you're thinking, oh, that's a pretty good game. Oh, solid. If you actually watch the game, you would know that he missed on a lot of those throws. I think it was his deep ball. He didn't hit one deep ball. And, I mean, he was missing. His accuracy doesn't look like it's fully there. And he himself admitted after the game that he could have performed better. I'm not saying that he had a bad game. I'm not saying that at all. And I know I was a Cade McNamara guy, so maybe it might seem like that. Look, I like JJ. I like what he brings to the table. And I'm, in a way, I'm kind of glad that Harbaugh went with him. It does seem like he has a higher ceiling than Cade, so fine. That said, if you're going to be the starter and you're going to be known for the guy that can not only kind of take a game in his hands, but you're like a playmaker. You can sling the ball. Your deep ball is good. I need to see it. I need to see it in games like this where, guess what? You're not playing Colorado State. You're not playing Hawaii. You're not playing UConn. You're playing a team that is 3-0 at the time. They were 3-0. Has a pretty solid offense. I mean, look, guys, look, like I've said all this whole time, this is why I don't like it when Michigan has easy cupcake garbage games for the first 3 weeks, is because then they're never challenged. And then they play teams like Maryland, and they get shell-shocked. They get punched in the mouth, and they get a little shell-shocked. Now, good on them for grinding it out and winning, but had Blake Quorum not turned it up and turned into a total beast, they probably would have lost this game. Now, another thing I want to give credit to is the defense. Defense seemed to play pretty decently. They got to Talia Tungaviola. They actually knocked him out, which was probably to our benefit. He still tossed for over 200 yards, but he threw 2 interceptions. Our defense caused 2 turnovers. Now, one of those interceptions was questionable, and in all honesty, I'm kind of surprised Maryland didn't challenge it, but whatever. It stood, and there it is. The defense played very well in this game. Again, I don't want to make it seem like it was all doom and gloom, but there were definitely some problems here. JJ, his deep ball wasn't always there, and he definitely looks a little bit green. CJ Stokes had a fumble, so hopefully Donovan Edwards is coming back soon. Now, it's not to say that you give up on Stokes yet, but it's not a good thing to put the ball on the ground. I believe McCarthy did as well, although it was recovered by Michigan. But still, just little bit of little mistakes here and there that really could have cost us the game, and it's so ironic because it mirrors. Ironically enough, it mirrors my Patriots and what they did to the Ravens. But I'll get to that soon. For now, let's talk about Michigan. Sorry. Look, it was good that they grinded out the win. Blake Corum had a hell of a game. I don't want to make it seem like that there weren't things to like, but and look, JJ, look, the numbers look good. You look at the numbers and you think, oh, well, he had a great game. You gotta rewatch some of the highlights of the game and maybe try to catch the plays where he was missing on the deep pass. Now, again, I don't want to make it seem like I'm being too hard on JJ. I'm not. It's just, look, if you're going to be the starter of the Michigan football team and you have this higher ceiling, I want to see it. I want to see the awesome play. You got to hit those deep balls. And look, I like a high-flying offense. I like a more, playmaker at quarterback kind of thing. I dig it. I do. I like J.J. McCarthy. But look, as of right now, he looks a little bit green. Now, it's not to say that He can't improve. I see the potential, and look, I'm there. I'm rooting for the guy, but he's got to play better because this week against Iowa, they're going into Iowa. It's their first road game. This is another test for the young quarterback. He's going to have to step up to the plate. Now, last thing I want to talk about in terms of this, really overall, put a nice little bow on top of it. I made a mention of a running back that that Blake Quorum reminds me of. Now, I'm not really talking about in terms of like style and how they play. I really don't know. I guess I would have to see more footage of this, but a running back I really liked last year, and I was honestly kind of pissed that he didn't at least make it as a Heisman finalist. Kenneth Walker III. Now again, I don't know if Quorum and Walker are like they play the same style or anything. You guys can actually tell me all about that in the comment section below. But I did a little comparison: Blake Quorum to Kenneth Walker III. Last year, Kenneth Walker through Michigan State's first 4 games. I compiled their rushing attempts, their yards, and the amount of touchdowns. Now, I will add this caveat. I'm not saying that they're the same player. I want to make that clear. But their numbers are pretty close, and it makes me kind of excited because I like Kenneth Walker. I thought he was a phenomenal running back, and if I'm being honest, low-key, I was kind of hoping the Pats would take him in like the 2nd or 3rd round or something. Now, obviously that didn't happen, but, whatever. I also want to add another caveat. I do think that Michigan State's schedule last year was definitely tougher than Michigan's schedule this year. So, again, with all that said, I think that's important to kind of point out. But when we're looking at the numbers here, so through 4 games in 2022, Blake Quorum has 64 rushing attempts, 478 yards total, and 9 touchdowns. Now, again, 3 of those 4 games were against slack-off teams, but again, whatever. In 2021, through the first 4 games with Michigan State, Kenneth Walker had 76 rushing attempts, 554 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So, about 12 more attempts and just shy of I don't know the exact number of yards. I'm gonna go ahead and punch it in a calculator here. 554 minus 478. Oop, 478. So 76 yards between the two. Kenneth Walker only had 76 more yards than Blake Quorum, and it's ironic because he has 76 rushing attempts at this point. And Quorum's got 4 more touchdowns. I just thought that was really cool. Pretty interesting stuff. And yeah, I think if there's going to be another Michigan player to make the Heisman finalist list, as of right now, I would say it's probably looking like it's going to be Blake Quorum, but who knows? We'll see. Anyway, you guys can go ahead and let me know what your thoughts are on the Michigan-Maryland game in the comment section below. And I'm also curious to know, did you guys expect Michigan to blow Maryland out? Because I didn't really think they would. I thought because their schedule was so weak up until they played Maryland, I thought, okay, well, at first I thought Maryland was a joke, but now they're better than they're better than advertised, and they actually can give Michigan a fight. I honestly thought Michigan was going to be trailing at halftime, but they weren't. They were up by 4. But anyway, what are your guys' thoughts, your opinions down below? And again, did you guys think that Michigan was going to blow Maryland out, or did you think that it'd be a fight? Were you more on my side with that? Oh, and I also want to say before we move on to the Pats, this game against Iowa. Iowa's offense ain't looking too good. Their defense does kind of scare me a little bit. I haven't done a whole lot of research on it, so I did pick that to be my trap game, and I think I'm going to stick to it, mostly because it is their first road game. It's a big test for J.J. McCarthy, and yeah, I think if Michigan underestimates Iowa, they can lose. I don't think they will, but I said it was a trap game. So once again, thoughts, opinions on Maryland, throw them in the comment section below. And with that, we're gonna move on to the New England Patriots. So the New England Patriots, they lost yesterday. They lost to Baltimore 37-26. This was wow, what a game. So all season long, the Pats offense has not looked very good. Now, all season long being 2 games. Okay, whatever. They only put up 7 on Miami. They barely edged out a win against Pittsburgh, 17-14. Initially I gave Matt Patricia a lot of crap because it only being able to put up 7 is almost inexcusable. But and then the game against Pittsburgh, I wouldn't so much credit their offense for that one as much as their defense. But I will say this. Their offense showed up yesterday. The running game was pretty solid. I want to get the good out of the way before we talk about the bad, and trust me, there is a lot of bad. So, first let me pull up the numbers from the game. I'm going to give you guys kind of the rundown here. It's taking a while to load. Here we go. Alright, so here we go. Yeah, the run game busted for over 100 yards total. 3 touchdowns. Ramondre Stevenson, Damian Harris, and Mac Jones, actually. Mac Jones had 5 rushes for 31 yards, kind of showing some mobility a little bit, but he would suffer a pretty severe injury at the end of the game, and I'll get more into that in a minute. I first want to focus on the good. Ramondre Stevenson was 12 for 73 and a touchdown. Damian Harris was 11 for 41 and a touchdown. So the run game kind of carved up a little bit. They carved up Baltimore's defense a little bit. Before I get into the bad, Mac Jones did throw for over 300 yards total. He threw for 321 specifically. So offensively, it was there. Oh, and Devontae Parker. Devontae Parker had a great game here. He had 5 catches for 156 yards. Kendrick Bourne showed up, 4 catches for 58 yards, even though I think he played the least amount in this game of the receivers. And Nelson Aguilar, a couple of catches, but he also had a very costly fumble. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep this positive, as positive as I can. But a great game for Devontae Parker and the running game, and the defense played pretty solid, I would say. Let's see. Dietrich Wise had 3 sacks on the day. Matthew Judon had a sack. They had 4 tackles for a loss as a team. Let me look at Lamar Jackson's numbers. I think they picked off Lamar Jackson once. So defense did what they could. Anyone that looks at this game and thinks, oh, Patriots defense blows, they almost gave up 40. Well, that's because they were exhausted because they had to come out on the field too much. Now, this is where we're going to transition into the bad. And I first want to start with Mac Jones. Mac Jones did not, and I repeat, did not have a good game. He didn't. Yeah, he threw for over 321 yards. Devontae Parker caught 5 of his passes for 156 yards. But you know what? Mac Jones threw 3 interceptions in this game. He threw 3 picks. Very costly. And it was mostly coming because I noticed in the game, he has a tendency to force the ball to Devontae Parker. Way too much. Now, I realize that Devontae Parker is kind of like a 50-50 guy. He'll go up and get the ball for you. But I don't know if he's still able to do that currently at this point in his game. And when he's double covered, it's obvious he isn't getting too open. Mac Jones keeps forcing the ball to him. And it's also just obvious that Mac is trying. He's really taking the game into his hands and forcing the ball to Devontae Parker, trying to make all these plays happen when it's just kind of showing that he's probably just not one of those kind of quarterbacks. Now, I don't know. It is a new scheme, and, maybe kind of slinging the ball a little bit was part of it. I wouldn't really mind it that much, but I just, watching this game yesterday, it was hard for me to look at this and go, wow, look, I want to be positive about this, but I can't. I just can't. Now, I know it's one game. I'm not going to give up on Mac Jones. I'm certainly not giving up on the season. Well, I will. The season itself, we'll talk about. Because it brings me to, I guess, talking about Mac Jones, it brings me to what happened at the end of the game. Mac Jones went down with a severe ankle injury. He had to get helped off the field. And, initial reports were that nothing was broke. He is, he should be able to return at some point in the season, but we don't know till the MRI. And at the time I'm recording this, I don't know for sure how long he's going to be out for. But from what I've read, he has a high ankle sprain, and he's going to miss some significant time. Could be like 6 to 8 weeks. So, yeah, this is not really looking good for the Pats. That may or may not be our season right there. Now, more than likely, Brian Hoyer is gonna start. I don't really have, Brian Hoyer is all right. He's not. I'm not gonna pin everything on him. I'm also not going to sit here and be doom and gloom, but no Mac Jones is certainly going to have me say this. I don't think we're making the playoffs without Mac Jones. I don't. I don't think we're making the playoffs with Brian Hoyer, and if we do, wow. I mean, I'd be surprised. I would. Even for Bill Belichick, I would be awfully surprised. Now, much like anything, I'll come on here and I'll admit that I'm wrong. And to be fair, Mac Jones is going to, if it's not as severe as we think, if he's only out for 6 to 8 weeks, he would come back around I think week 10 or 11, if my math is correct. It's probably not, so feel free to correct me on that one. I just think 6 to 8 weeks is enough that could essentially put us out of a possible playoff spot. And I don't want to be too hard on Brian Hoyer, but I just don't think we're going to go that far with him. That's what I'm saying. But who knows? I've been wrong before, and I really hope I'm wrong about this. But let's get back to the game for just a second. It's pretty obvious what killed the Pats in this game. It was too many damn mistakes. The 3 picks and a fumble. Well, 3 picks from Mac Jones. The fumble from Nelson Aguilar. It was a very winnable game. I don't even look at it like, oh, Baltimore won the game. No, I look at it like, did they or did New England beat themselves? Now, Baltimore had a great game, but this was a very winnable game. The defense did what it needed to do. It played way more than it should have. It got on the field more than it should have. And, I mean, look, I'm not even going to hold this against Matt Patricia. Not totally. But, you know, it's not on him completely. Now, he is the offensive coordinator, ipso de facto, whatever. He's not technically the offensive coordinator, but he's calling the plays. Now, I didn't take any issue with his play calling, but he is the coach, and so is Belichick. Look, I'm holding this against all of them. Mac Jones, he's got to play better. Well, he's probably done. So, to be honest, guys, this could get ugly. This really could get ugly. I'm still going to watch, obviously. Still going to, you know, root for them. Hope for the best. Brian Hoyer has been in the system for a long time, so who knows? Maybe he'll surprise us. I don't know. But that is about all I have for you guys today. Oh, yeah, Mac Jones, I think I mentioned earlier, the only good thing Mac Jones did was that he had a touchdown, a rushing touchdown. So, yeah. Get well soon, Mac. This looks like the sophomore slump is going to happen, and now, you know, you got to... We'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how Mac Jones looks when he comes back. But, yeah. Anyway, guys, that's going to wrap things up for this installment of CuJo's Corner. Thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. What are your thoughts on the Patriots game? Before I go, I guess I should throw that question out. What are your thoughts on the New England Patriots, Baltimore Ravens game below? Pats fans, give me your thoughts, your opinions down below. Until next time, I'm Dustin Crumley saying, stay awesome. If you enjoyed this video from CuJo Productions, please consider subscribing, check out my Redbubble page for all my merch, and hit the bell icon so that you're notified for every time I upload a video. As always, stay awesome, guys.